Hey guys, Dr. N here. This week I had a really interesting case of a middle-aged man who sits at a desk all day and had self-diagnosed himself through Google with carpal tunnel. And the reason why he thought he had carpal tunnel was every time he sat at his computer and began to work, after about 30 minutes he started to get tingling and numbness sensation in these three fingers. So he got on Google. Google said he had carpal tunnel, and so he was getting assessed for that. Now through the assessment, it became evident that maybe it truly wasn't true carpal tunnel and the nerve was getting caught somewhere else. So if you've seen other videos, I've talked about how it can actually be coming from the neck. For him, it wasn't solely the neck. It seemed like he had a lot of tension in his forearm here. And there is a muscle that's very important when you have those symptoms called the pronator teres. And what that muscle does is it connects up here and it runs down to this inside bone, your ulnar bone. And what it does is it pronates the wrist. So that's why it's called the pronator teres. But the important thing about that muscle in terms of the position of it is the median nerve, which supplies these three fingers, which is usually the culprit in carpal tunnel, has to pass underneath it. And it's a very common spot to build up tension due to repetitive mouse work. And the nerve can actually be getting trapped right here. So what we did with him in office was we did a lot of soft tissue on that muscle itself around to where it connects. We manipulated or adjusted the elbow. We did some treatments on his neck and upper back, and we saw him twice this week, but his symptoms were about 75% better already because we were working on the areas where the nerves seemed to be trapped the most. The other thing I did, and what I'm going to show you today, is 3 simple stretches or exercises you can do to combat what sitting at a desk does to that nerve and to those muscles all day. It can flare up your symptoms. So the first stretch we gave him was what is called a pronator teres stretch, which is for that muscle. So to do that exercise or that stretch is really easy. You're going to bring your elbow into your side, and then you're going to rotate using your other hand that arm or that palm out. So we're going the opposite motion that muscle does as far as you can. As soon as you lock that out, you're going to straighten that elbow that you're stretching. And then you're going to just go as far as you can. And then you're going to contract against the pressure of this hand for about 5 seconds. And then you're going to rotate further. So I can go further than I could just 10 seconds ago. And now I'm feeling a good stretch right along here. And so what I'm going to do is, 4 or 5 rounds of those contractions and then relaxing, keeping the elbow straight as I rotate that hand further down. Usually I'll stretch for 7, contract for 5, and I had this patient do that about 3 or 4 times throughout his workday. The second stretch I did was just for the wrist flexors, in other words, the muscles that do that. He keeps his elbow locked right in front of him and brings his palm facing forward, pulling the fingers back to get the stretch in this portion of the forearm. And then again, we're contracting against our own hand, 5 seconds, stretching further. Again, 4 or 5 of those rounds of contraction and relaxing. Very easy to do. Now, the last thing we did was a median nerve floss. So again, that median nerve is what causes the symptoms if it's getting irritated or trapped. And so when you do a floss stretch or exercise, we're essentially just imagining like when you floss your teeth, you're moving floss back and forth between the areas that the floss is going to clean that area up. The same thing applies with a nerve. We're trying to just floss it through all the tissue it has to pass through as it gets into the hand. So to do this exercise, you bring your arm straight out, elbow stays locked, and as your palm goes down, you're going to bring that ear down towards your shoulder and then the opposite. So it's just this simple movement right here. And what I had him do was about 3 sets a day of 15 repetitions. And so he just did these things periodically throughout the day. And again, within 4 days, 2 treatments and home exercise, he saw a huge improvement in the symptoms in his hand. My guess is when we see him next week, his symptoms will continue to improve, and this will be something that he can manage easily. Hopefully we can completely resolve it. And then he's got these easy things to do to just keep that nerve happier and keep this area through here that seemed to be the culprit a little bit healthier to where that tissue doesn't trap the nerve. So Just because you have symptoms in these fingers doesn't always mean it's true carpal tunnel. You got to look in different areas sometimes with those stubborn cases. It's important to be assessed by somebody to figure out exactly where that nerve entrapment or irritation to the tissue is occurring. And then there's usually easy things. So again, the pronator teres stretch, wrist flexor stretch, median nerve floss, did a great job for him. If you're having symptoms in those areas, give these things a shot. I think they will help. I hope they do, and I'll talk to you soon.